Hey everyone, it's Alana from the Rustic Wife. Welcome back. Today is Monday and I have today off, and it's just kind of a lazy day around here. I just want to get a few things cleaned up, and the weather is really mild. It's so nice. You can see we have lots and lots of snow, but we've just gone through a few days of blizzards really, and whiteouts and crazy winter weather, and then today it feels like spring. So today kind of makes me want to do a little bit of spring cleaning and get a few jobs tied up that I've just kind of left since the fall. So we'll get that done, and I also have some orchids that I want to repot. So I'm just going to be doing a few things and bring you along with me. First thing, we're going to go to the basement and collect some things that have been on drying racks since probably October. And I've been avoiding them and not dealing with them, so today I'm going to. I've got some peppers that I dried and we're going to grind those up, and we also have some marigolds that I dried and I have to pull the seeds from those, and also some calendula leaves, the last of my calendula leaves, so we're going to get that stuff dealt with. So this big mass here with a sheer curtain over top of it, I have my drying racks here. Well, all it is just a window screen propped up on top of an old drying rack. But I've put this sheer curtain over top for the dust and particles that may get on them. So I'm just going to take this off and we'll collect what's underneath them. So this is my high-tech drying system here. And these are just a few things that I had left in the garden at the end of the fall, late fall, that I wanted to pick out. So there was just some sage and tarragon, the last of the lemon balm. And then I have some hot peppers right there. I also have some more hot peppers that I dried. And then down here, the last of my calendula, a bit more lemon balm, and my marigold seed pods that I haven't taken out of the little casing yet, but I will. So I want to get this stuff cleaned up because we will be down here shortly to start our seeds. And I think we'll be doing onions and leeks shortly. So I want to get this area cleaned up. Okay, I'm set up down the basement, and I'm just going to be putting these dried herbs into some jars, and I'm just going to pick off the calendula leaves and put those in jars too, and then pull out all of these little marigold seeds so I can plant those in the spring. So I'll get started on that. Next I have sage. I'm just going to stick them all in there, stuff them in the jars. I got my lemon balm in the jar, and now for the real tedious task, and it is taking the marigold seeds out of the pods. So I have that many to do, and I have that many in the jar so far. This is again why I avoid this like the plague. But I like to save money and have all these seeds for free, and then I can plant my border along the front of my house, and it makes the most beautiful marigold border. Marigold seeds. Okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go up and have a coffee, and then I will go outside and take the dogs for a walk and feed the birds, and then I'll come back in and pot my orchids, so that's something else, and I'll work on these later when I have more patience. Hi baby boy, come on. Oh goodness, come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, ow, ow, Otis, get out of here. It's so mild out today, I can't believe it. The snow is melting. It's definitely snow fort or snowman making snow. I can see the birds have been eating the suet that I made. What are you doing? Alright, I'm back in the house and I'm ready to repot my orchids. I actually thought I knew what I was doing before, but I really didn't. I've been following Danny from Miss Orchid Girl. That's a really great channel if you're into orchids. She's so knowledgeable, and the channel I've learned so much. I've learned how much I'm doing wrong with my orchids. Even though I have green leaves on some of them, the roots are horrid. I've completely neglected the roots, and yeah, so I found an orchid on a clearance rack, and it was just left to die on the clearance rack, and it was $4. So I grabbed it and I thought maybe I can clean it up, repot it, and hopefully it comes back and gives me some flower spikes. So we're going to try that today, and I'm going to show you what I've learned from her, and I'll also link her channel down below so you can have a look and check it out. Alright, so this is an orchid that my cousin gave me. She was just going to get rid of it, and I brought it home, I think it was 2 years ago, and I was so proud of myself. I actually got it to flower, and you can see there is a flower spike growing again, and I think that the leaves look healthy. But so you can see some of the roots in there that are green and healthy. These ones are quite dry. And this poor little orchid right here, the leaves look healthy. They're a little wilted, which tells me it's dehydrated, and I know it is. But it actually has no roots alive. These are all dead, with the exception of these aerial roots, which are dehydrated and pitiful too. So I'm gonna have to try to bring that one back. But what it's grown in makes a huge difference. I did try to get this chunky orchid mix from the store, and it was actually not right. The type of media that you want is really chunkier than that, with no soil, because orchids are actually epiphytes, which means that they grow on the outside of trees or on the outside of something else. They'll attach themselves to, say, the bark of a tree, and they'll get their nutrients from the air and water from the rain, and they don't live in soil. These are Phalaenopsis, and these ones don't live in soil. I don't know about other varieties of orchids, but all I know is that all three that I have are Phalaenopsis. And then this poor little soul, this is the one that I got from the discount rack, and you can see it was $3.99. The leaves are quite wrinkled, and it's really dehydrated. And there are some flower spikes on it. So there's one right there, and another one up top here, and I think that there was another one right there. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut these flower spikes off so the nutrients can go to the roots and to the leaves and get them healthy again. And also, it says to water with ice cubes, which I used to do, and I thought that that was correct. But as Danny says, that orchids are tropical plants, and tropical plants don't do well with ice water in them, so she suggested to water your Phalaenopsis with lukewarm water. This is the one that I've had before, and it does come with a clear plastic pot, which has a drainage hole on the bottom for water to drain out of, but apparently they should have ventilation holes through them, and these don't. So that's not good for the roots. And the medium that it is in is chunky, but it does have some soil there, which can also suffocate the roots. I can see these are very dry. So we're going to try to fix that. And I picked up this orchid mixture, and it is full of western fir bark, charcoal, perlite, and some fertilizer in it as well. So hopefully this will be okay. All I know is the soil you should not have soil for these. It should be a chunkier medium that allows airflow to the roots. So I have 3 plastic pots here that I've drilled some drainage holes on the bottom and some vent holes at the side. I've got 3 new pots for my 3 orchids. I'm also going to be using a pair of scissors to snip off the old roots. And I have some rubbing alcohol pads here, and I'm just going to clean the scissors here. In between each orchid, I'll clean the scissors off, just in case there is some sort of a bacteria. I don't want to introduce that to my orchid roots. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one. I'm just going to pull it out. It just feels so dry. I don't want to, just want to gently bring that out. These roots are awful. Wow. These couple of aerial roots might be able to be saved, but anyway, we'll see. So, God, look at that, eh? It's like a little skeleton. There might be one root there that's okay, feels okay. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to snip off this flower spike. Right there. Because that was taking all the nutrients from the roots and the leaves. So I'm going to get rid of this. I run some lukewarm water and rinse these roots off. Get all the old stuff off. Okay, these roots look pretty pitiful. You can tell these ones are dead, so they can be snipped away. That one, even though it's dry, it doesn't feel mushy. So I think that one will be okay. This one, I don't know. So anyway, I'm going to snip away all the dead roots. And this string here, it doesn't have the outer coating on it. The string is actually the root, this right here. So when it doesn't have an outer coating on it, it can't absorb any moisture or any nutrients. So that has to be snipped off too. Okay, that's what I have left. None of them look really healthy, but we'll see if maybe we can bring it back. So we'll put it into its new pot. I'm going to put at the bottom of my pot, it's just this stuff right here. And then I'm going to tuck my roots in there and then add the medium. So you can see how chunky that is. It's going to allow a lot of airflow around the roots. But I don't want to get it packed in there too tight because I don't want to suffocate the roots. There's that one. And I'm going to water them after I've done them all. So there's this one done. Okay, so we'll do this one. Oh, got some new root showing right there. You can see it. That's a nice healthy root right there. But I am going to get rid of all of this dead stuff. Okay, you can see which roots. So I've washed the old medium out. I've got all the chunks and stuff and all the old moss out from around the roots. And now I'm going to do the same thing and cut all of these dead roots away. Okay, this is what I'm left with. They all feel quite healthy and they're firm, they're not mushy. So we'll pot this one. I have this one potted, but I am going to leave that one root, that aerial root, sticking out because it's kind of growing up the top near the crown there. So I'm going to leave that one out. There we go. And this is the most pitiful one here. This was under my care. So you can see what kind of an orchid mother I am. Terrible. But this root, I have hope for this one, and these ones. Also, when you're watering, try not to get any water in between the leaves toward the crown, because that can lead to rot and it will kill your plant. So yeah, just try to get, if you do get water in there, just get a paper towel and dab it or anything, but you don't want any sort of crown rot. So I've cleaned my scissors again, get rid of probably all of this stuff at the bottom. Right, now that I have my orchids into new pots with ventilation holes and drainage holes on the bottom, and in fresh medium with very airy bark chips and perlite and charcoal, and the roots have been trimmed away, all the bad roots, and the good ones, hopefully good ones, are left behind. It's time to water them. And also, since they're not in a traditional medium such as soil to grow, these orchids are actually epiphytes, which means that they attach themselves to the outside of a tree. So they get their nutrients from the air and from the trees, and they get their water from rain. That is how they live in the wild. So just putting a few ice cubes on the top is not going to hydrate them enough. What we need to do is soak them in some water. Now she suggests to fill a pot with some water, lukewarm water, and soak your pot right into the other pot. Soak your orchid pot into the pot of water, just just enough water that it doesn't pour over the top into the rim. You want to just have the water absorb through the drainage holes in these holes here, and the roots will absorb some of the water. So about 10 or 15 minutes to soak, and then drain them out and put them on in your window or on your shelf where you keep your orchids. Now I could have chosen a smaller outer pot, but I wanted you to be able to see in between, and you can see how far up I have the water level. And I want to make sure this doesn't tip over, because if it tips over, water can get into the leaves and into the crown, like I just mentioned earlier. So I'm going to let these soak for about 10 or 15 minutes to absorb some water, and then we'll put them away. All right, it's been about 10 minutes. Just want to make sure I get all of the moisture out. Well, I just want to make sure I get all the water out, because I don't want these roots to be sitting in water. So this is where I keep my orchids. This window faces east, so it gets morning sun but not direct sunlight. And I've had pretty good luck with flowers in the past, and I'll post some of those pictures so you can see. But as you could tell from the root system, I'm not the greatest orchid grower or keeper. So hopefully that changes since I've been learning from Danny. And I also have a Thanksgiving cactus that I also saved from a discount rack. And this has bloomed several times, so it's beautiful. My paper whites that have bloomed and they've been snipped down, and an amaryllis. So this thing looks beautiful. So I have hope for these orchids. This one has a flower spike, so I do have hope for at least one of them, but I will keep you posted as to how they do. The last thing I want to do is to grind up these hot peppers that I dried into chili flakes and powder, and I will go through them to pick out the bad ones, and then I'll grind these up. All right, I've got some rubber gloves on that are too big for me, but I'm still kind of nervous. I'm burning my fingers. There is some mold on this one. You can see mold right there, white fuzzy stuff, so I'm not going to use that. If they're all like this, they will all get tossed out, because no, that one's okay. Yeah, that one's alright. That one's okay too. Oh man, I can already feel this up my nostrils. So I've got the chili peppers in the blender, and the chocolate habaneros are separate because I'm afraid of these My brother is the one that eats the really hot stuff like ghost peppers and things like that. So I think I'm going to save these for him. And he can take the seeds out if he wants and grow some. He probably already has seeds, but yeah, I'm a little nervous of these. So I'm going to give those to him. Make sure you have this covered. You don't want any of the powder in the air because, again, I've burnt my nose and my eyes doing this before. And once that has stopped, don't take the lid off because there's still powder in the air, because that is how I burnt myself. Burnt my nose, burnt my eyes, so let that settle and carefully take this lid off because it hurts. Okay, call me a wimp if you will, but it's time to take this powder and put it into the jar. And I'm scared again. Oh man, I can even smell it. It smells really good. I can smell it through the mask. But I don't want it up my nose. There we go. Got my powder. That'll be great in tacos or chili or sprinkled on pizza. Probably very hot because I can actually smell it and feel it through this mask. So that must be hot. So that's done. So that's another thing from my pantry, and I have downstairs cleaned up and getting ready for seeds, and I've got my herbs in the jar. I'm working on those marigold seeds. What else do I have? I did, more calendula flower so I can infuse into oil. I have some infusing in oil, so I'm going to be making some soap, and so that'll be an upcoming video. Thanks for hanging out with me today while I tied up a few loose ends and did some chores that I've been avoiding since October, and getting ready for seed starting, which is coming up soon. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you again next time.